The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TechGig webinar series, our endeavor to empower techies. Over the last 11 years, Osmosis has been a platform for Mindtree minds to showcase their technical capabilities, learn, share, and innovate. It has been the stage to showcase the skills and capabilities at Mindtree and to tell the world they are unstoppable as individuals and as an organization. With Osmosis 2015, they are taking things to the next level by not just engaging Mindtree minds, but by connecting the organization to the entire ecosystem they're part of. The topic of today's session is Introduction to Force.com. Our guest speaker today is Bhushan Dongre. He's an architect at Mindtree. Bhushan is an enterprise architect having 15 years of experience in developing and architecting technology solutions using Salesforce, Force.com, Mobility, EAI, and various traditional tools and languages like C++, Java, etc. We expect this webinar to last for about an hour with 40 to 45 minutes of presentation and the remainder time for question and answer round. If you have any questions, please submit them using Questions tab in your control panel. So without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speaker today. Over to you, Bhushan.
Thank you. So could you pass me that? All right. Thank you everyone for taking your time from your busy schedule and attending this webinar. Today's topic is a little advanced, and we are talking about the Force.com platform as such. In this topic, what we are going to do is we will look at the basic information about the Force.com. We will understand what the Force.com is, how applications can be developed on the Force.com, how those can be released to the open world, and we can also look at the platform offering, and we will summarize by looking at what all possibilities of Force.com platform is all about. Now, before going into further details, I would quickly like to outline the session. Since I see that most of the attendees are having a varied background in terms of their work experience, then the area of expertise, and their interest of topic. What I would like to outline today's session is to introduce you with the flavor of cloud first. I will go through the high-level concepts of cloud computing. Then I will introduce you to the Force.com platform, and I will show you how the applications can be built using the Force.com platform offering of Salesforce. Now, at a very high level, Force.com platform is a service as a platform as a service offered by Salesforce for developers and customers for creating the next generation cloud applications. And these are backed by the solid APIs and the frameworks which have been built by Salesforce. Now let's go deep into the Salesforce and the Force.com platform. And before I go further, let me quickly touch upon what the cloud computing is all about, and so that everyone will be understanding in terms of what we are talking about when it comes to in terms of the cloud computing. And this is very important since the Force.com platform is based on the cloud, and it is different from the traditional way of developing the applications where people are required to host their applications, purchase costly servers, databases, and create some kind of a domain name and spend many $1,000s on maintaining that infrastructure. Along with developing the software which will run onto the expensive infrastructure. The world has changed now. The world is looking at the cloud computing where the infrastructure has already been provided by a provider. the provider also sometimes provide platform services, which is like web service or database service, or anything for that matter, which will come in terms of the base applications that you are looking for, and those could be J&DI services and things like that. If you look at the screen which I'm presenting right now, there's a clear-cut differentiation between various services which are being offered in terms of the cloud computing today. Now, the whole cloud computing term is to do with the hosted services which are made available on the internet for the consumption. Now, there are three types of services broadly which are available. One is the infrastructure as a service, where you have all the hardware specifications that you can specify or you can opt for. And then you can have softwares in terms of application server, database server, caching, networking, file management, so on and so forth. And you can just start paying those services, and you go ahead by saving your cost. The second type of a service, which is called as platform as a service, which is to do with the platforms on which you can develop your applications, which is where the Force.com application, Force.com offering resides. There are other players in this particular segment where you can have a development, application development, decision support, and other streaming applications you can develop. And one of the niche player in this region is Force.com. And there's a third kind of a service offering, which is a SaaS, what is called a SaaS offering, which is more for a software, and you can buy that software as a service and you can just start using it. And the great examples are the Google spreadsheets, email messages, email messaging service, so on and so forth. Force.com sits into the PaaS region of the cloud computing, and which is where it becomes very important to learn that skill. The reason is the applications which have been or software which have been given as a service, you don't, as a developer and as a service provider, you don't need to do lot of customization or coding for those kind of services. Whereas infrastructure is totally managed by the infrastructure team. What happens is you have a PaaS platform where you develop your application and you become expert of this particular subject matter. Now let's go in terms of what the Force.com platform is all about, and what are the offerings which have been given by Salesforce. Now, as I was saying earlier in the earlier slide, the Force.com is one of the product of Salesforce, and Salesforce is being a largest service provider of infrastructure as well as a PaaS and software. So this becomes a niche area where people like developers and the service providers can jump into this particular region and start developing their applications and start selling those applications to the world. Now the infrastructure on which the Force.com has been based is owned by Salesforce, and you are not required to look at the software, the infrastructure part of the world when it comes to Force.com. And Salesforce also offers 4 different types of services on top of Force.com, which is one of the services, Sales Cloud, which has to do with the sales automation. There is another service cloud which has to do with the CRM services, to do with the customer relationship management, and then there are collaboration clouds, and then you have a custom cloud. So out of these, we are looking at the Force.com platforms offering, where as a developer and as an independent service provider, you can target this particular platform and you can start developing your applications. Now, these applications, you can have a drag and drop type of application. So that's the first flavor of the Force.com, where you don't need to write any code if you are developing the applications which are actually given by the Salesforce, and you can have a plain vanilla user interface, and you can quickly go live within a week's time to the world. Now, what type of applications that Force.com you can build, and this screen typically shows the use cases that you can have. These use cases varied from enabling the enterprises with a mobility to integrating your backend legacy applications like SAP, your databases, and so on and so forth. And you can also have service orchestration and multi-channel marketing, where you can host services like e-commerce services on the platform, and you don't need to worry about how you want to manage the infrastructure, how you want to manage the application life cycle itself. Now, having said all those things, let's start with the actual meat of this whole webinar, where we want to start with the Force.com. Where should I look, and what are the first steps that I should be taking if I want to use the Force.com capabilities? Now, there are wealth of information available, and the first and foremost thing would be developer.salesforce.com is one of the sites that you can visit, and you can sign up for a free account using which you can start developing your applications. Again, this is a developer account. This offers all the flavors of cloud computing which is offered by Salesforce. Now, as soon as you register, you will get an email, and you will see a lot of resources which are coming into your emails, which will actually guide you in terms of how you can go forward as soon as you register onto Force.com. So the next thing would be to log into the application, the Force.com platform, and what you will see is the screen. So this is what the screen that will look like when you first log into Salesforce, and you will be presented with lot many tabs and lot many options, and there's an administration interface which will also be available. But at this point of time, you don't need to be worried about the load of information and the options that have been provided in this particular interface. There's a step-by-step wizard-based interface which is available, and you can take the help of experts, and you can start developing your application. So right from this point of time, I will explain you how the applications can be built using the Force.com. So typically what happens in the Force.com screen is you have got an administration interface, and you have got a lot of different tabs out there, and one of the options is add application, add app. So as soon as you click on this particular wizard will take you towards the application development process. Now I will stop here, and I will talk about the typical application development steps which are applicable while we develop any application on the Force.com platform. Now, traditionally, when you look at the application development for a non-cloud-based application style, you start with thinking of which application, which web server you will choose, which application server will you choose, which database server which you will choose, what will be the connection pooling methodology, where will my business logic reside, what kind of user interface that I will have to build. If you look at all those thought processes that go typically in the mind of developer, you will see that the actual application development resides on a periphery, but developer starts thinking of what would be my caching methodology, how my web server will behave, and will it cope up with my application, so on and so forth. All those things are not actually required when it comes to the engineering process of the application development. And the good thing about this Force.com platform is all the things are taken care by the Salesforce. And as a developer and as a service provider, you will have to concentrate on thinking about your application rather than thinking about all the periphery systems or the periphery issues that you may face during the development. So the databases are taken care of. Then your caching, the web server, everything is taken care of. You just focus on getting your logic ready and deliver that logic. Everything will be taken care by the platform itself. Now look at the development steps which I have shown here. So start with the data modeling. Define your objects, define your tables, define your fields, define your relationship between these objects. And as soon as you define these objects, Salesforce will ask you what kind of a business rules that you want to impose on those business objects. And as soon as you define those validation rules, business rules, Salesforce will give you a simple interface using which you can actually finish off your application. And at this point of time, you are actually done with your application development. So this process is mostly taken care by a point and click methodology, where you just need to specify using clicking on the right option that you want to choose. And Salesforce will help you in choosing the wise decisions in terms of making the application logic stable and making the application logic work for any kind of a load that you may anticipate into your application. So there are guidelines which are given by the platform. You will have to abide those guidelines, and as you abide those guidelines, you will get no issues when you deploy the application at the customer side, or you publish the application to the Force.com. So this is what the typical application lifecycle exists when you talk about the Force.com application development. And again, the good part here is you focus on your application rather than you focus on all the periphery and auxiliary items that are not directly related to your application. So which is what the good part is. Now I want to show you a little more advanced steps where how we can actually develop the application and how we can take this methodology even further, and we can develop the application using Force.com. So the first step when you start application development is to have the data modeling in place. So you think of a business requirement and you think that I know for fulfilling a particular requirement, or let's say if I'm creating some kind of an invoice management system, then I will have to have so many different tables and objects that I will have to create. And I will just start creating those objects using Salesforce, Force.com custom objects. So I will define those objects. I will define all the fields which are related, which are required for those particular objects. And in the slide, the example which I'm giving here is an invoice. Typically, you have invoice. You may have one-to-many relationship into your invoice and line items. You may have customer invoice relationship. All those relationships and dependencies you can define using the standard interface that has been provided by Force.com platform. And once you define those interfaces, Salesforce will allow you to create a simple tab which will read as invoice, the same name that you have used for creating that particular table in the table or a custom object while defining that custom object. And this is what your interface will look like as soon as you define your object. And you don't need to think about how the CRUD operations need to be managed. Those are actually managed by the platform itself. The CRUD is create, read, update, and delete. These are the standard operations which are performed on any table or any object for that matter, business object for that matter. So you don't need to apply a logic, or there is no need for creating separate operations for implementing the CRUD. CRUD is actually given out of the box by the Salesforce and the platform. So as soon as your data modeling is complete, you have the relationship, you have the validation rules, you have field dependencies which are in place. At this point of time, you have a working prototype which is defined, which is working, and you can actually demonstrate a POC or a working prototype to your customer, saying that you define your objects and your POC is complete. So within a matter of say a day or two, as soon as your metadata and data model is complete, you have a working prototype of your application that you can go and demonstrate to your customer. Next thing that I will also show you is a schema builder. So you can go beyond your object definition and you can define your schema relationship, and you can also create a schema of your choice which fulfills your business requirement. And this schema builder allows you to define all those requirements which have been imposed by the business. You define your relationship, you define your fields, and the same thing will be reflected when I was showing in the earlier screen, where you create your objects here, or you define your schema, you define your relationship, your application prototype is working, and you can take that application to your customer. So one of the sample which I am presenting right now talks about the case and account and contact. So you define one-to-many relationship between these objects, and your job is done from a data modeling perspective. The next step during the application development which will come is the enforcing the business rules. Now, if you look at the typical application development or traditional application development, you think of a trade-off where every developer thinks that whether I should be imposing or implementing these rules at a UI side or a middleware or a database, and each one has got its limitations as well as the pros and cons, where the cost of maintaining these business logic, business rules, if you replicate those business rules at 3 different places, you have ongoing cost and you have your ongoing maintenance issues. So Salesforce and the Force.com platform has actually solved that problem by imposing those business rules at an object level or at a database level, table level. So as soon as you complete your data modeling, you specify the business rules and validations here. And one of the validation example which you can see on the screen is the quantity validation. So there's a drop down and point and click methods available where you don't need to even write the code. You just specify what you want, and Salesforce and platform will write the code for you. You can also specify what kind of error messages that you want to show to the customer on the validation failures, and those validation failures messages will be automatically handled by the platform itself. So here also you don't need to think about how we want to handle, say for example, the error messages. So should I be showing below or above? You can specify all those things, and a platform will take care of doing those validations, showing the error messages, and making sure that all the correct and clean data is being inputted by the end user. So this actually completes the second step of your application development phase, wherein you define your application data structure, you define the business rules, and again you can go back to the customer saying that, look, my application is now ready. You try it out and let me know what you want to, what are the changes that you want to suggest to me. Now, if I just compare this approach with a traditional approach of software development, where there's you start with the application server or a web server selection, you start thinking about where should I put my logic, where should I do database, how should I do a database connection pool, so on and so forth. Many days are gone thinking about the application infrastructure itself. Whereas here you focus on your application without thinking about how the infrastructure and other things are to be taken care of. So at this point of time, you have a working application and which can be deployed onto the platform. The third step which comes while creating while refining your application is the user interface, where Salesforce allows you to use the default interface. It will also allow you to create your own interface. So you can choose not to use the Force.com default interface. You can build interface using HTML5. You can use all type of different things. You can have a Java-based interface, and you can have a web services or REST-based services which are automatically exposed as soon as you are creating these objects. So your job is to define object. Your job is to define the logic, and creating the services, creating the user interface is taken care by the platform. And here it will allow you to further fine-tune what you want to render onto the user interface based on the requirement. So here is something which is called as a layout chooser or a layout builder, where you can define your layout, you can define the spacing, you can define colors, you can define anything, and this will actually point and click solution for your user interface development. And similarly, the most important part of any application is reporting and the dashboards, which comes as an implicit requirement of any application. So again, from a traditional application standpoint, what happens is these reports you'll have to think of which tool should I use, what tool will give me all my requirements, solution for all my requirements. What Force.com platform will do is it will allow you to have a reporting and dashboard modules, the default out of the box functionality, to be used as a data analytics solution, and it will allow you to create reports on the fly without any code change or without any manual coding. So you can just drag and drop the fields. You can define your layouts, you can define your dashboards, and you can deploy those reports, and your job of completing those reports and creating dashboards are actually taken care of. The look and feel, the skinning, the theming of Salesforce user interface, the reports are also taken care by the platform itself, where you can define your custom styles, you can custom style sheets, custom themes, and you can change the whole look and feel, left menu, right menu, top menu, the footers, and everything you can customize by specifying the custom theming and custom CSS with this particular user interface builder. And there is also option available where you can actually go advanced and you can start writing your code if your business requirement is not getting fulfilled by the out of the box user interface of Force.com. Now, at this point of time, the typical application development process is complete for Force.com, while the traditional development is maybe still thinking about the design and all those things. So the beauty of the platform is in very less number of steps, you are up and running, and you have the vanilla interface, you have an interface, and you are actually ready to go live. So here are the examples which I've created. Again, a beauty of this is for exposing your services onto mobile. You don't have to write any code. So Salesforce and a platform will give you the mobile enablement of your application out of the box. So the two screenshots that you are seeing here is one of the application which I created, which was called as fundraiser, and the fundraiser tab that is visible onto your tab for a desktop-based browser, and you can customize all those things. And similarly, the same interface for a mobile is actually rendered when you log into to the application via mobile. So so mobile enablement is a big buzzword in the industry, and people have spent a large amount of money on porting the standard applications onto mobile. So as your customer is demanding that your application has to work on your desktop as well as mobile, so this is one of the value add that you can take to your customer. You can take to your project, saying that if we develop application using Forge.com, we don't need to spend any amount on enabling the application onto mobile. So that is out of the box. So you can start adding a value to your projects, your customers, and I'm sure these kind of features will be irresistible to any project, any customer for that matter. So at this point of time, your application development is finished, and then you can have further customization of your application based on your business requirement. So still there may be some requirements which may not be fulfilled just by these two types of screen. So you can actually go and you can have a programmatic way using which you can actually use a Visual Force language, which is much like a ASP or JSP language. You can define these pages, and you can customize these pages according to your need. So at the end of this, you are actually complete with your application development and the Forge.com platform. And what I would like to do is I want to show the full capability of a platform and what else you can do with the platform, so that this platform can be widely used by the customers, and you can fulfill all the business requirements that you are thinking to solve. So in the screen that you are seeing on the left hand side, I am showing a Salesforce stack where the platform is a core offering of Salesforce, and on top of the Forge.com platform, Salesforce has created different types of applications targeted for different problems. Typically, Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, all these are CRM applications, whereas a Chatter, which is more of a collaborative tool, which actually works across these offerings. And Salesforce provides length and breadth of the services, where it ranges from Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Marketing Clouds. You can have community crowdsourcing. You can have data analytics, and then obviously you have a platform-based applications. And you can also have a Heroku, which is more of a Java related or a Java like application, cloud-based application platform. You can use Forge.com and Heroku in conjunction and have an integration between other applications and Forge.com. And obviously there are touch interfaces and open APIs. So I was referring to the REST and SOAP protocol. So as soon as you create any object, those objects are available over the REST and SOAP services. So here again, you don't need to write any code for creating those application interfaces, so which are actually given by the Open APIs feature which Salesforce provides. So after looking at the stack, I'm sure you must have thought about how I can prove myself and how can I find out what are the opportunities which lies into the Salesforce and the platform. So there are tons of certifications out there. It starts from a Forge.com developer, which is called a 401 certification. Then there are range of certifications where it starts from advanced developer, subject matter experts, the consultants, and obviously a technical architect, which is the highest level of certification which you can do, and you can prove yourself onto the Forge.com platform. Now, I will quickly touch upon what Mindtree is doing with Salesforce and Forge.com. So we have been working in using the Force.com and Salesforce into almost all offering of Salesforce, right from Chatter, Service Cloud, Sales Cloud, Force.com, obviously, which is the largest part of the offering. We have also been working on the application app exchange development, which is again one of the great features that Salesforce provides. That if you think that you can create a service, so for example, you can create some kind of a mashup service where you can go and compare, let's say, prices of a particular e-commerce commodity across various e-commerce sites. So you can have some kind of a mashup you can develop, and you can offer that as a service or as an application app, and you can make that application available onto the Salesforce platform. So it is very much similar to your Android and iOS applications, where you develop applications and you host them and you make money out of those. So similarly, there's a platform which is called App Exchange. You create applications, post those applications to the platform, to the store, and people will purchase those applications and start using your applications as a part of their applications. We also have a large analytics team and obviously a mobile enablement stack, where we have hybrid applications. We have Salesforce One SDK, and we have also done a lot of hardware integrations for our customers. So all in all, Mindtree has been working with a length and breadth of the applications that the application platform that Salesforce has offered. So at this point of time, I would like to conclude my presentation, and I will have Deepika to start putting some questions to me so that I can start answering those questions.
Thank you so much, Bhushan. Thanks for the insightful presentation. Yes, I would request you to take up the questions now. They are available in your questions tab. I would request you to read out the questions and their answers so that all our users may listen to the insights.
Okay, sure. Sure. So the first question is, are there any providers that provide all the three, which is the SaaS, PaaS, and infrastructure as a service? So there are providers which may provide all those things, but if you typically compare Amazon, which is strong in the infrastructure background, they are slowly coming up with some kind of an email service offering. But from a platform offering, I have not seen a strong offering from Amazon which is comparable to Force.com. So I have not seen any provider which is equally capable of providing all those three things as a single offering. That was the first question. The second question which I am getting is, Force.com comes under which PaaS? What is the language used to code on the platform, and can I use C# for coding? So you are right, Force.com is a PaaS offering, which is what I have been telling. Now, Force.com uses a Java-like programming language, which is called as Apex. Now, any person who is aware of Java or C# can pick up this particular language within a week of time, because most of the syntax is exactly the same. Most of the logical decision points or the syntax, semantics, everything is very much similar. There are differences when it comes to a cloud-based computing, where you have to keep in mind that this is a multi-tenant application, where you have you have multiple customers who are actually running the same, which are running on the similar hardware or the same hardware. So there are restrictions and there are some kind of a guidelines which have been made available as a part of the platform itself, and you can use those guidelines, and you can use the Apex coding standards, Apex code, Apex language and Visualforce language, which is much similar like ASP and JSP, to build the application, customize your application further. The third question which I'm getting is, can you please give me an example of moving the existing SAP environment to cloud? Now this is a little bit a tricky question, because moving a SAP environment to cloud is not a simple decision, because SAP has a great investment, enterprise has made a great investment into SAP. Now moving that investment into Force.com or a cloud is not an overnight decision. So anyone who is actually thinking has to carefully think and propose the solution. But from a technology perspective, if I just limit my scope to technology, this is very much possible, because of the fact that Force.com offers you a complete platform for building your application. So for example, your sales order. The sales order is to do with your CRM, the SAP SD and SAP CRM problem area. Now, the Salesforce has a similar offering which is called Sales Cloud and Service Cloud. So you can actually switch to Service Cloud and Sales Cloud, and most of the things which happen in SAP CRM will be taken care of. And then you can have your custom implementation built into Force.com, and that way you can actually migrate from existing SAP environment to the cloud. Obviously, that is a long. I can talk on that answer for a pretty long time, but there are other questions. So the next question is, can we check the performance in case of big data? I'm not sure what the intent of the question, but I'm guessing that the question is how is the platform capable of handling the large amount of data? So obviously yes, Salesforce has proven that it can your database size can goes into gigs and terabytes, and Salesforce can, if you abide the principles and the standards which have been laid out by Salesforce and the platform, you should not see any lag or any performance issues into the platform. The next question I'm seeing is, can we make our own UI with skinning and theming? Yes, I have probably answered this question when I was talking on the user interface side. So obviously yes, you can have custom user interface for your applications, and the interface could be right from HTML5, standard string, C++. Then you can have your own interface using the backend services, the SOAP and REST. So the thought is a limit, everything is possible. The next question I'm seeing here is, will Force.com provide customized applications for verticals like pharma, telco, likewise Civil CRM provides? So as of today, there are no vertically focused applications, but Force.com, being a platform, you can develop and you can have develop these applications. There's one more point which I would like to mention here is, you must be remembering the App Exchange that I was referring. So people have developed their solutions, vertical focused solutions, onto the Force.com, and they are actually marketing and they are actually selling their verticalized solutions on the Salesforce. So one of the solutions which I can readily know is a financial force, which is very much focused on the financial technologies, financial applications focus. So likewise, there are other applications which you can look at it, and there is a vertically focused applications which may be available. The next question, which is how data integrity maintained in the Salesforce with in-channel capturing information and geographical implementation. So this is a very good question in terms of the internal structure of data Force.com and tendencies managed by Salesforce. So typically, when you define your custom object or a table, in the background you will have multiple columns which are specifically added by the platform, and those columns take care of considering the tenancy, the multi-tenancy for you. So as an application developer, you may not see those columns, but Salesforce will make sure that the requirement of n-channel capturing and geographical implementation is taken care of. So for example, you can opt for a data center in Asia Pacific, which is located somewhere in Japan. There's a data center in Europe, UK. You can opt for those kind of data centers, and you can make sure that the customer's needs are addressed. And this typically comes from a requirement where customers insist that I don't want my data to be went out of my say country or a region. So that can be very much possible. I'm going to the next question, where it's asked that does Salesforce support any other language apart from Visualforce? Right now, no. The language support is Apex, and Visualforce is the page development of the visual development method of developing the applications on Force.com. So right now there are only two methods possible. Next question is to do with authentication. What kind of authentication does it support? This is a great question. I kind of know where this question is coming from. So the Salesforce has got and the Force.com has got a range of authentication mechanism. It starts from the Salesforce authentication itself. It has a two-factor authentication built in. If you do not want that authentication then you can have OAuth, you can have SAML, you can have Active Directory authentication, you can have Open API, Open ID authentication, and you can implement your custom authentication if you are not if you don't want any of those authentications that Salesforce has provided. So there's absolutely no limit in terms of what and how Salesforce will authenticate authentication will support. The next question, I would like to know the level of integration viewpoint from the Salesforce to an external system. For example, I want to know the typical integration use cases, like a sample one. Okay, this is a good question, where most of the applications today cannot live in isolation. So it has to be integrated by external applications, be it a legacy or be it any other hosted application. So Salesforce will have two types of integration possible. One is the services-based authentication, and then there's a new feature which is coming up, which is actually very recent, where you can actually display the web part of the external application with an authentication without going by a web service route. So if you have a, let's say, old application which actually resides in your premise, and there is no web service method available, then you can have a little coding, and you can actually take the UI out of that particular application, and you can embed that user interface into the Salesforce or a Force.com platform. The next question is, what security measures are taken care by Force.com to isolate first subscriber or user data from another subscriber or user? So this is again boils down to the multi-tenancy, where Salesforce will have multiple different columns which you will not able to see, and based on those columns, Salesforce will make sure that the tenant who is owning the data can only see the data which is applicable or which is actually owned by that tenant. This is one way of data security. Then Salesforce and the platform imposes ton of different security security features where, as a record owner, you can specify this record can be shown to these many people, these many roles, or these many profiles. So all that can be possible. Next question is the Salesforce consultant technical role or more of a functional role? So this is more of a certification question where there are different roles. So the Force.com certification, the developer certification, which is the first and foremost, which will establish your technical base, and then you can qualify to be a non-technical or a functional consultant. So as a person, you are actually, you can take a decision whether I want to go with a technical route or you can have a functional route. There are a lot of similar questions which I'm seeing. I'm just glancing through the questions and I will read out the relevant ones. So one of the question is, could you please tell us the difference between sales, service and marketing cloud, and which one of these Mindtree is using? Okay, so good question. So sales is a sales lifecycle management, whereas service is like a customer touch point. Everything happens after the customer purchases a product and starts seeing problems, where Service Cloud will help you to help the customer to log a case. Then you will have an agent who can resolve that case, and so on and so forth. Marketing Cloud is to do with the customer experience. So for example, a typical use case could be an e-commerce site where there is a great focus on how the customer behavior is, what are the customers looking for, and how I can best arrange my e-commerce shelf so that my product can be sellable. So Marketing Cloud does that. And the last question which I'm seeing here is, Mindtree is operating into almost all the offerings that Salesforce has provided. So we have Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Marketing Cloud, and others. With a time check, I just have less than a minute remaining. I will quickly look at remaining questions and I will see if I can answer any of the questions quickly. Okay, the last question, how to integrate Salesforce with middleware tools like TIBCO in way other than SOAP and REST. So TIBCO and other middlewares have exposed their application app exchanges over the Salesforce. So if you do not want a SOAP or REST-based integration, what you can do is you can have a TIBCO specific adapter, and you can install that adapter into your application, and you can call the native methods of the application, and that way you can integrate your application with all the middlewares, and TIBCO web methods and some of the other connectors are readily available out there. That brings to the end of the questions, and what I would like to do is I will pass the control to Deepika, and Deepika, if you can take the control back, and we can actually close this webinar for today.
Thank you so much, Bhushan. Thanks for this insightful presentation. I'm really thankful to our guest speaker, Bhushan Dongre, for conducting this wonderful webinar. It was indeed a great session. And I would also like to thank all of you for your support in making this webinar a huge success. The recording of this webinar will be available on techgig.com very soon. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.